We watched James Harden turn 80 years old in this series. It looked like
cracking the
he
fuck
was
up.
a
80 years old
mannequin,
is
a
crazy.
cone, a practice person who was just, people were going by.
James Harden just turned 36 years old, and the way he is living now is sad. Not because he did anything criminal, not because his career ended in some tragic public collapse. The sadness is more complicated than either of those things. It lives in the contrast between what he was and what he is now, on the court and off it, between the life his talent once commanded and the one he is currently living. This is a man who won an MVP award, a man who captured multiple scoring titles. We are talking about a man who won an MVP, captured multiple scoring titles, earned hundreds of millions of dollars, and spent 2 decades making NBA defenses look completely helpless. That was the life his talent commanded. What he is living now is something different entirely. And at 36, with the basketball declining and the lifestyle
Damn, 36? He only 36? That's what's up.
change, that difference has become
Very successful man, only 36. He did all this in that short amount of time. That's major.
Impossible to ignore. To understand what James Harden is today, you have to understand where he came from and how high he actually climbed. Harden was never supposed to be the main character. When he came out of Arizona State in 2009, he was selected 6th overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team already building something special around Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. For 3 seasons, Harden played a supporting role, coming off the bench and delivering exactly what Oklahoma City needed from a reserve.
He looked different as shit when he was younger. Major difference right now.
Was so good in that role that he won the 6th
I ain't gonna lie, I hated that haircut though. The haircut was nutty, Harden.
Man of the Year award in 2012.
I'm talking like you gonna see this shit.
The same year OKC reached the NBA Finals. But anyone watching closely could already see the ceiling on this player was not that of a 6th man, it was something considerably higher. When the Thunder declined to give him a max contract extension and traded him to the Houston Rockets in 2012, what happened next was one of the most remarkable individual transformations in modern NBA history. Harden did not just become a starter in Houston, he became the offense. He became the identity of an entire franchise. Year after year, he put together scoring campaigns that were genuinely historic, combining a devastating step-back three-pointer, an ability to draw fouls at a rate no one in the league could match, and a creativity in isolation situations that made him nearly impossible to stop within the flow of a game. In 2018, he won the Most Valuable Player award after averaging 30.4 points per game, 8.8 assists, and 5.4 rebounds. He was not just productive, he was operating at a level that placed him in conversations about the greatest scores the game had ever seen. There were seasons where he averaged over 36 points per game. There were nights where it felt unfair to even put a defender on him. That version of James Harden felt permanent. It felt like the kind of player who would just keep doing what he was doing until...
I ain't gonna lie, Harden definitely used to be balling. He wasn't playing, you hear me? He used to be on the court, like for real. Like heavy, running up and down, heavy scoreboard. Like I could put a player prop in it and yeah, he gonna check everything off that you got him for.
He decided he was done. But nothing in professional sports stays permanent. And the version of Harden that fans are watching today at age 36 is a fundamentally different player than the one who terrorized defenses for a decade in Houston. Harden is still active. He is still in the league. But anyone who watched him during his Rockets years and watches him now can feel the difference in ways that go beyond statistics. The explosive first step that used to create automatic separation against any defender on the floor has slowed. The ability...
You know what I think though? He probably fell out of love with it. Like he probably not in love with basketball like he used to be. Like motherfuckers sometimes after they get where they want to be, they want to do other shit, like branch off. He probably like, you know, he probably burnt out from that shit. He did that shit for so many years. His whole life revolving around basketball. I get it though, like he a player, that ain't how it go, but sometimes motherfuckers get burnt out. Even rappers. You nigga be popping, rapping. As soon as he get some money, drop another album, shit be over. He branch off, do real estate, branch off and be, I don't know, something different. Like sometimes people get burnt out. That's why you see sometimes motherfuckers start doing different shit. Even like the rapper Tutti. He a good ass artist, right? Make music in his fucking bedroom. Any given time of the night, of the day, whatever. He went and played football for college. it's probably something he wanted to do. Like, people get burnt out too, no matter what your career is. I get it though. I mean, we know him for basketball, so I mean, he should continue that legacy. But sometimes people be wanting to do other shit. That's what we gotta factor in and stop trying to box people in. People do get burnt out. Like, even famous people. Like, we think because he who he is and he in a limelight that he can't get burnt out with his career. Yeah. Anybody can get burnt out and not want to do something no more. That's normal.
To get to the free throw line at will, which was once one of his most dominant weapons, has diminished significantly. He no longer enters the season as the undisputed offensive centerpiece of his team. What he brings to the floor now is basketball intelligence, veteran decision making, and the experience that comes from having played at the highest level for more than 15 years. Those things have genuine value, but they are a different kind of value than what he once provided, and everyone who follows this sport knows it. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, Harden has found a role that fits what he is today rather than what he was at his peak. Cleveland did not acquire him to be James Harden circa 2019. They brought him in to be a veteran playmaker who understands the game at a deep level, who can organize an offense, create advantages for teammates, and bring a championship-level mentality to a young group trying to compete in a very difficult Eastern Conference. In that sense, the fit makes sense. Donovan Mitchell carries the primary scoring burden. The Cavaliers have the athleticism and youth around Harden to compensate for what he can no longer do physically. His job is not to score 35 points and will a team to victory. His job is to make smart decisions, take care of the basketball, and help younger players understand what it takes to win when the games matter most. That is a respectable role. There is nothing inherently sad about a Hall of Fame player finding a way to contribute to a winning team late in his career. But the 2026 postseason put Harden's current limitations on display in a way that was hard to ignore. Cleveland did make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, beating the Toronto Raptors in the first round and coming back from 2 games down to eliminate the top-seeded Detroit Pistons in 7 games. That run was genuinely impressive, but when they got to the conference finals, the New York Knicks swept them in 4 games, and Harden's performance across that series was a significant part of why. In the series ending Game 4.
Damn, that's a bad jump. And you the reason why. Like, fuck was he doing? Not paying attention. Head not in the game, probably. Too much of the lifestyle. Motherfuckers get the lifestyle and they start getting thrown off track. That's probably what happened. Niggas sidetracked for real. Head not in the game.
He finished with 12 points on 2 of 8 shooting, going 0 for 6 from 3 in a 1-3-0, 9-3 blowout. His shooting was inconsistent throughout the entire series.
Look at that picture. My man look fucking, I don't know. My man look like that shit hurting right now. That shit, it hurt to play ball.
Series in ways that created real problems for Cleveland's offense. He turned the ball over at critical junctures in games where possession changes completely altered momentum. Defending him was no longer the assignment it once was, and the Knicks knew it. There is something specific about watching a player who once changed games by himself struggle to stay reliable in games where his team needs him to simply be steady. It is not a dramatic failure. It is quieter than that. But quiet failures in the playoffs have...
See, he like that shit more. Like the lifestyle, everything that come with it. Look how happy he looked at fucking Travis Scott there. He just liked the lifestyle. He said, fuck basketball at this point. This shit over with. See, Donovan, he's still in love with the game. I mean, this is still like his passion. It just seemed like James Harden lost his passion, if I'm just being honest. I still fuck with Harden, though. It just seemed like he lost his passion for the love of basketball. Like, it happened to the best of us. He ain't the only one, trust me. A lot of motherfuckers, especially nowadays, a lot of motherfuckers is starting to show that they ain't really feeling what they craft like they used to. Like, it's starting to show, and I feel like it's all because of Instagram, the lifestyle, the glitz and glamour, and all the shit that come with it. Niggas get so caught up in living their life, they forget how they got here. Not saying he forgot, that might not be his case and scenario, but I'm just saying that's what happens with a lot of motherfuckers, and that be their downfall, not taking their craft as serious as they once was, and, you know, bullshitting too much. But hopefully Harden get his shit together, get his head back in the game, and tighten up. Like, that's all it is, because at the end of the day, he's still a good ball player, to me anyway.
A way of sticking to a player's reputation in ways that regular season statistics cannot wash away.
Another thing is he probably drinking and shit too, cause he be in a club a lot. I caught that nigga in a club a couple times, so he probably be drinking, fucking out of both pants legs, like shit like that. And that's just me keeping it real, nigga shit, just on his nigga shit. Like, fuck it, I'm thugging. Then go play basketball, and it's like it shows that he ain't really there, cause the nigga probably was up all night bullshitting, not coming to practice. Like, I don't know, little shit like that though, throwing off his square, all that partying and fucking.
And for Harden, whose postseason reputation was already a complicated subject going back to his Houston years, the 2026 playoff run added another complicated chapter to a story that fans are still trying to fully understand. What makes the basketball decline particularly striking is the specific magnitude of what Harden once was as a scorer. There are a handful of players in NBA history who have averaged over 30 points per game for an entire season. Harden did it multiple times. He did it in a way that combined volume with efficiency, drawing fouls at historic rates, connecting on step-back threes from distances that most players would not even consider shooting from, and creating advantages for teammates in the process. Entire defensive schemes were built around him. Coaches spent weeks preparing their teams for what he might do. He was not just a star, he was a problem that defenses had no clean answer for. Today, Harden averages a fraction of those numbers. The efficiency has declined. The shot creation is limited to a narrower range of situations. He is a role player on a good team rather than the engine of a championship contender. That transition from one category to the other is jarring when you hold both versions of the players side by
Fucking loud as shit. The fuck going on out there?
side. And for fans who watched him in his prime, it can genuinely feel like a loss. The financial dimension of his situation added another layer to the conversation this past offseason. Harden declined his $42.3 million player option with the Cavaliers, not to walk away but to negotiate a new multi-year deal with the organization. Both sides reportedly want to make it work, but the conversation around that decision still carries an uncomfortable undertone. A player who at his peak was one of the most valuable and dominant contracts in the entire sport is now in a position where walking away from guaranteed maximum money is the preferred path forward for everyone involved, including him. That is not a criticism of his character or his desire to stay in Cleveland, but it is a marker of where his career actually stands versus where it once was. And no new contract language can fully paper over that gap. Away from basketball, the conversation about James Harden has long included another dimension that follows him everywhere he goes. For years, Harden has been one of the most publicly visible NBA players when it comes to nightlife culture. He has been photographed and reported on at exclusive clubs, upscale entertainment venues, and high-end establishments in cities across the country.
That's funny as shit. Didn't I just say that? He be clubbing a lot. Real shit. That's his thing right now. And I feel like that's why his head is out the game most of the time. Because he clubbing too much, fucking bitches, drinking, all that kind of shit. Just having a good time, enjoying his life. I guess he feel like, me, I worked hard enough. I should be able to enjoy my life. He got to know when to call it quits, though. Because business first. And that's how you got to that life. You feel me? Them bitches probably wouldn't be fucking you if you wasn't James Harden. And that's just me keeping it a buck. Not saying you're not a nice looking guy. But that's just how the economy is and the world works today's. Like, today's world is what you got, your status, shit like that. You ain't got no status, you ain't got nothing going on for yourself. Ain't nobody fucking with you.
This is not something that emerged in the last year or two. It is a reputation that developed over the course of his entire career and became, in many ways, as much a part of his public image as his step-back jumper or his signature beard. Stories about Harden spending in these environments have circulated for years, and they go well beyond just buying bottles. The specific pattern that kept coming up was the money he was pouring into entertaining women at these clubs.
That's funny as shit. I really just said that. Nigga be tricking. Y'all niggas gotta stop tricking, man. Like, them bitches don't want y'all. Face it. Fuck them bitches that don't want y'all. Like, stop chasing after a bunch of bitches that don't want you. Get the ones that want you. It's bitches out here that want you. You a basketball player. You James Harden. You bull for real. Like, fuck them bitches that want to fuck you for a check. Leave them bitches alone. Them the worst bitches. I'm trying to tell you. I mean, you could do it here and there, but don't get too caught up in that shit, man. There's bitches out here that'll love you, nigga. Like, fuck with your kind, too. Them foreign bitches, they only fucking y'all because of your status. Come on, man. Learn life.
We are talking about a man who became known for dropping staggering amounts of cash on women at exclusive nightlife establishments.
The crazy part is, my fault, y'all. These motherfuckers seen the downside to that shit. It's basketball players that's on the streets now, that's homeless, all kinds of shit based off of trying to have live a certain lifestyle. Like, they seen this shit already. If they didn't, they need to go do their research, do your homework, figure it out. Cause if you see where they came from and where they at now, you wouldn't even want bullshit play around like that. Cause if you stop getting offered contracts, then what? The money gonna slow up. If you ain't got nothing else going on. Not saying he don't got nothing else going on, he can't make nothing else pop off, but I'm just saying, like,
night after night, city after city, in a way that went far beyond what even other high-earning NBA players were doing. The numbers that got thrown around in those stories were not modest. They were the kind of figures that made people stop and genuinely question what kind of relationship someone has with their own money. And this was not an occasional thing, it was a pattern. A consistent, well-documented pattern that people in those circles talked about openly and that eventually found its way into the broader sports media conversation. For a long time, those stories existed alongside his elite performance on the court in a way that allowed fans to process both sides of him simultaneously. He was a man who worked hard and played hard, and when you were averaging 36 points a game, it was difficult for anyone to make a serious argument that his priorities were costing him anything where it actually mattered. But the calculation changes when the performance changes. When Harden was putting up historic numbers, his nightlife reputation was a colorful detail in the largest
I'm cracking the fuck up. That nigga in there having the time of his motherfucking life.
story about an unstoppable basketball player. Now that his production has declined and his role has been reduced, the exact same behavior reads completely differently to a significant portion of the fan base. Critics who once shrugged their stories about his spending now point to those same stories as evidence of misplaced priorities. Commentators who stayed quiet when he was posting MVP numbers now use his continued involvement in nightlife culture as a way to explain his decline, arguing that players who want to maximize the final years of their careers make different choices than the ones Harden appears to be making. It is worth pausing on that dynamic for a moment because it reveals something important about how sports culture works and how quickly the relationship between the fan base and the player can shift when performance starts to drop. There were specific seasons in Houston where Harden was widely reported to be showing up to training camp carrying extra weight, and the response from the media and fans was largely to laugh it off because he would then go out and put up 35 points anyway. The body seemed irrelevant when the output was that extraordinary. Critics existed then too, but they were a minority voice drowned out by the box scores. Now those same critics have the microphone and the box scores are no longer powerful enough to take it away from them.
That's because after a while, everything catch up to you. So when he first probably was doing it, making the game, still scoring, still putting up numbers, all that shit didn't catch up to him at the time. He thought he could do it. He kept doing it, kept doing it. The more you do something, that shit just catch up to you eventually. That's why they say you gotta do shit in moderation. You can't go full throttle, especially in a position that he in. He a limelight. He is a fucking star player on the team. He gotta show up. He show up tired, not putting up no points, a whole fumbling the ball. Motherfuckers gonna notice that. It's James Harden. Who wouldn't notice that? Now, if he was a bench rider, or if he was a motherfucker that don't really get no play, motherfuckers don't really know, he new on the team, nobody probably paying no mind, he'd be good. But you, James Harden, you gotta show up and ball every time. Everybody know you is. You got motherfuckers in the crowd for you. They got your jersey on.
This is a pattern that shows up throughout sports culture. Identical behavior receives completely different public reactions depending on whether the player is performing at an elite level or not. When you are winning and producing, your personality and habits become part of your legend. When you are declining and struggling to maintain what you once were, those same habits become evidence of a character flaw. The behavior itself has not changed. The context has, and context shapes everything about how the public decides to interpret what they see. There is a counter argument worth taking seriously here though. For every critic who connects Harden's nightlife reputation to his basketball regression, there is a legitimate response that points out the obvious truth that age affects every athlete, regardless of how they spend their evenings. Players who have lived monastic lifestyles, who have been obsessively dedicated.
I'm cracking the fuck up. Why the fuck was he looking at Chloe like that? He looking at that bitch like, ugh, what the fuck?
Its rest, nutrition, and training have also seen their athleticism decline in their mid-30s. The body changes. The explosiveness that defines great athletes does not maintain itself through willpower or discipline alone. It diminishes because of time, and time is the one thing no athlete can overcome. Harden's most devoted supporters make this point consistently. They argue that there's no real evidence connecting his off-court choices to his on-court limitations, and that attributing athletic decline to lifestyle rather than age is a way of assigning moral blame to a biological process that would have happened regardless. They point to the fact that Harden is still active at 36, still contributing to a team that reached the Eastern Conference Finals, still capable of making the kind of plays that most players his age cannot produce.
Nobody said he not capable. Like, we all know he capable. It's James Harden. He been balling all these years. He done showed us many a times that he's capable. But what they saying is right now, his head is not in the game. That's the whole thing. His head not being in the game. He's not present. He's there physically, but not mentally. That's the problem. He got to find a way to get himself back there. I don't know if it's money that'll motivate him, but then again, he got money already. So they got to figure out, or he got to figure out rather, what motivate him to get his head back in the game so he can get back where he's supposed to be. Get what I'm saying?
By that standard, the narrative that his life is sad starts to look more like an unfair standard applied to a man who has simply reached the stage of his career that every great player eventually reaches. But even acknowledging all of that, the contrast remains. James Harden at 36 is not James Harden at 28. And while that is true of every player, the gap between his peak and his present feels particularly pronounced because his peak was so singular and so dominant. He was not just very good, he was historically good. He was the kind of player who made people question whether the game itself needed to change its rules to account for what he was doing. That version of Harden existed for a long time, long enough that fans built an expectation around it, a sense that this was simply what he was and what he would continue to be.
What y'all gotta understand is, I get it, these people, celebrities, star players, whatever the fuck you wanna call them, they are entertainers though. They get tired. They're human. That's what we all gotta factor in. They're still fucking human. So no, what did I say that right? Still human, right? My fault, I keep getting tongue twisted, y'all. They human at the end of the day. So with that being said, they gonna have bad days. We can't expect him to put up numbers every game. No. It's not possible. Well, it's possible, but motherfuckers get burnt out. They play a lot of games. They travel all over the world. Just different things. Every day, nigga ain't gonna feel like showing up, balling, giving you his all every day. Nigga might be burnt out from the last game still. He older too. We also gotta factor that in. Even though it's ball players out there doing it, like I said, this all goes back to his head not being in the game. You gotta want it bad enough. Brian want that shit. Why you think all this shit, I mean, he's still on top, man. He doing the shit that he doing. He moving around, coming to Philly. Brian really want that shit. I'm not saying Harden don't want it, but change your heart for the game. That's what it's giving to me. And y'all gotta be grateful and mindful that this motherfucker did give y'all a lot of years of entertainment. Like, be mindful. He gave you a lot of motherfucking years, you hear me?
When you build that kind of expectation and then the reality shifts, the disappointment that follows is proportional to how high the expectations were. Fans who watch Harden at his peak are not disappointed because he is merely good. They are disappointed because they remember what extraordinary looked like. And extraordinary is no longer the word that comes to mind when they watch him now. Compare the two versions side by side and the shift becomes starkly clear. In his prime, Harden walked onto the floor of every arena in the NBA as the most dangerous offensive player in the building. Opposing coaches could not just game plan around him, they had to build their entire defensive philosophy around neutralizing him. And even then, he still found ways to score. He carried offenses that had very little else around him and still produced at a level that put him in the MVP conversation year after year. He was appointment television. People tuned in specifically to watch what he was going to do next. Today, James Harden is a player that Cleveland hopes will make good decisions and not create problems. That is the honest summary of his current role, and while it is not without value, it represents an enormous step down from what he once was. His name still carries weight in NBA circles because of what he accomplished, But the weight it carries now is historical rather than immediate. He is important because of what he did, not because of what he is doing. And at 36, with whatever years remain in his career ahead of him, that distinction matters in a way that it did not 5 or 6 years ago. The broader context of aging in professional sports helps explain some of what is happening with Harden without excusing the specific dimensions of his situation. Very few players in any era maintain elite production into their mid to late 30s. LeBron James is the most prominent exception in this generation, and even LeBron has had to evolve and adapt his game to compensate for physical changes that time brought, regardless of how meticulously he takes care of his body. For most players, the window of true greatness is narrower than fans want to believe, and the transition from superstar to veteran role player is something that virtually every great player navigates eventually. Harden's situation fits that broader pattern and actually echoes the career arcs of some of the most celebrated players in NBA history. Allen Iverson, one of the most electrifying players the league has ever seen, spent his final seasons as a role player on.
Shout out to Allen Iverson. Brian about to make Philly great again, you hear me? Remember what I said, this shit about to be legendary. Brian about to make Sixers great again. Mark my words, watch what I tell y'all.
On teams that barely remember to use him. Tracy McGrady, whose peak rivals anything Harden produced in terms of pure scoring dominance, was a shell of himself by his early 30s. Even Kobe Bryant, who was arguably the most disciplined and obsessive athlete of his generation,
R.I.P. to Kobe Bryant, man.
saw his final seasons defined more by injury
And GJ, can't forget GJ.
and diminished effectiveness
God
than by
rest
the
they soul.
championship level performance that made him legendary. These were not men who failed. They were men who reached the end of what elite athleticism could sustain, and what remained after it faded was a smaller but still meaningful version of the player they used to be. Harden's situation fits that broader pattern. He is not unique in experiencing decline. He is unique in a specific type of player he was during his peak, which makes the decline feel more dramatic than it might for a player whose game was always built on things other than raw athleticism and explosion. When your entire identity as a basketball player is built on creating separation and getting to the line and finishing in traffic, the natural erosion of the physical gifts that made all of that possible feels more visible than it might for a player who was always more cerebral. Public perception has also shifted in ways that go beyond just basketball performance. There was a period when Harden's lifestyle and personality were celebrated as part of what made him compelling. The beard, the step back, the nightlife, the money, all of it was packaged together as the James Harden experience. And enough people bought into that package that it became a brand. He had endorsements, he had a shoe line, he had a public image that felt current and relevant in ways that extended beyond basketball. People found him interesting not just as an athlete, but as a personality.
I feel like he still got that though. I don't feel like he lost that. Like, let me look up James Harden right now. I think he still got that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, he still got that. Yeah, he still got that. What are we talking about? I get what he's saying, but I feel like he's still James Harden regardless. He just not the same on the court, if that makes sense.
That brand has quietly faded. The entertainment deals have not kept pace with where he once was. The cultural relevance that came from being a top 5 player in the world has naturally diminished as his standing in the league has changed. The same spending habits that once seemed like the celebration of a man at the top of his profession now seem to some observers like a man who has not updated his sense of self to reflect where he actually is. Whether that perception is fair is a separate question, but perception shapes how people talk about a public figure, and the way people talk about James Harden in 2026 is measurably different from how they talked about him when he was putting up those extraordinary numbers in Houston. None of this erases what he accomplished. The legacy case for James Harden is genuinely strong, and it will remain strong regardless of how his career concludes. He is among a very small number of players in NBA history who won a scoring title. He won multiple of them. He won the MVP award on one of the most dominant individual seasons the modern era has produced. He was named to multiple All-NBA teams, selected to the All-Star game over a decade, won a gold medal representing his country at the Olympics, and spent a large portion of his prime playing at a level that put him in the conversation with the greatest offensive guards the sport has ever seen. That is a real legacy. It does not disappear because of what is happening now. But legacies are complicated things, and the way a career finishes tends to color how people remember what came before it.
I feel like back then he was on a mission. He had to make a statement. Like, he was on a mission. He was on a different kind of mission. Like, he was on a run. He like, yeah. He had a goal pride. That was the goal. He achieved it. Once he achieved it, it was kind of like curtains from there. Started doing other shit. Started partying, clubbing, getting the girls, the lifestyle, the aesthetics. I don't know. If I was him, I'd go ahead and retire though if I'm really out of it. Like, before I fuck my name up. Like, y'all get what I'm saying? Not saying he gonna do something super foul to fuck his name up, but if you keep showing up on the court and you're not showing up, like you just there physically, but you're not there mentally, and it's showing through your work, I feel like after a while, you're going to lose fans. People going to start talking. It's going to raise too much conversation. You're going to be in the media for that. And before you know it, it's going to be bad. So if I was him, I either pull out for a little bit, get my thoughts together, get my head back in the game, practice a little bit, and come back, or retire.
Players who end their careers on their own terms, who step away while still capable of contributing meaningfully, and whose final chapters feel like a dignified conclusion, tend to have their legacies preserved in a cleaner way than players whose final years involve ongoing questions about relevance and performance. For Harden, the final chapter is still being written, and the narrative being written around it is not entirely flattering. Bring it all together, and the picture that emerges is not one of catastrophic failure. It is something more nuanced than that, which in some ways makes it harder to watch. James Harden has not lost everything. He is still in the league. He is still getting paid. He is still contributing to a competitive team. But the conversation surrounding him at 36 is one that nobody would have predicted when he was at the height of his powers. A conversation about decline and diminishing returns, and whether the lifestyle he has always lived is compatible with the player he still wants to be. The word sad keeps coming up not because his life looks tragic from the outside, but because the specific combination of factors, decline in production, reduced role, continued nightlife reputation, and a public perception that has quietly shifted against him, creates a picture that contrasts so sharply with the greatness he once embodied. Fans are not mourning a catastrophe, they are mourning a gap, the space between what they know he was capable of and what they are watching him be right now. There is also a generational dimension to this conversation that rarely gets discussed directly, but sits underneath almost everything people say about him now. The players who are dominating the NBA in 2026.
Y'all gotta understand, these people are still human. I know they are a character to y'all, they are actors, they are entertainers, but they are human at the end of the day. And humans are not like robots. Humans don't do the same thing every day, and every human enjoy it still. After a while, it gets tiring. They go through burnout, and they want to branch off and do other shit. So we got to stop looking at these people as robots and entertainers and actors as just robots. We got to look at them as human, too. Come on. You human. You got your days where you like, nah, I ain't doing that. And what you do? Turn on the TV and you watch what? James Harden. That's how you got to look at it, but from a different point of view, because he's actually a main character in his life and in his story. Not saying you not, but if that makes sense, he got a lot of people watching him. So every little thing is a big deal. When all reality, it's not a big deal. They just look at him as a robot because he's James Harden. So he's always supposed to show up as the James Harden that they know. It's not realistic. He's still human at the end of the day.
Were teenagers when Harden was in his prime. The torch is not just passed, it has passed to an entirely new generation of players who did not grow up watching Harden as a model to aspire to. They grew up watching him as a cautionary tale about postseason reliability, or as the guy their coaches used to explain the evolution of offensive basketball. His influence on the game is undeniable and permanent. Multiple players at every level of basketball have incorporated elements of his footwork and shot creation into their games. But influence is not the same as relevance, and the young stars who are defining the current era of the NBA are not thinking about James Harden when they take the floor. Every legendary athlete eventually reaches this point, the moment where their accomplishments stop accumulating and the comparisons to their own past begin in earnest, where the question shifts from what they are doing to what they did. James Harden has reached that point at 36, And how he navigates what remains of his career will determine the final shape of a story that is still somehow not quite finished. He was one of the most gifted offensive players this sport has ever produced.
He still is. We tripping if we saying he ain't. Still is gifted. It take a lot to get on that court and show out and do the shit that he did. Let's not forget that. Let's not take away from this man though. Let's give him his flowers. He showed up for many years. The years that he not, it's almost like he never did. No, we gotta get a man his flowers. He showed up. He did what he had to do. If this as far as he want to go or this as much as he want to give, you gotta respect it. He gave y'all a lot. He entertained y'all for many years. The man is 36 now. He's burnt out. Hang it up. Hang it up. The nigga want to branch off. He want to have fun. He want to fuck bitches. He want to do other shit. Let that man live his life. You hear me? Like, I'm out of here though. Woody. WOOTIEFALANA on the gram. Follow me.